Hi everyone, I'm David Wojcik and this is MBOT TV. Stories we covered this week: MBOT signs an MOU with the Canada-Turkey Business Council. Post-election panel examines the future with a Doug Ford majority. Part 4 in our Pearson Airport story, and Part 2 in our series on digital distraction in the workplace. And our weekly political update with Brad Butt, who has news on the first legislative act promised by Premier-elect Doug Ford, deputations your Mississauga Board of Trade made to Regional Council, a new ride-sharing pilot program comes to Pearson Airport. Welcome to MBOT TV, a weekly recap of what happened in business at the Mississauga Board of Trade and around the city of Mississauga. Are you looking for an amazing offer from a prestigious golf course? Listen to what Credit Valley Golf and Country Club has in store for you.
Change the way you do business with a Credit Valley corporate-owned membership. With full transferable privileges and limited space available, this is the way to value clients. Credit Valley Golf and Country Club, making the world of business better.
The Mississauga Board of Trade and its mission to connect our members to international business partners signed an MOU with the Canada-Turkey Business Council. Director and past President Julie Lindout was on hand with Consul General Sen to sign the MOU, aligning our two organizations to work together and bring business relations closer between the two countries. MBOT held a post-election panel discussion to answer questions about what a Doug Ford PC majority would hold in store for Mississauga. The panel handled questions in 4 major areas. Stella Ambler, principal with Earnscliffe, took the provincial-federal questions. Carl Baldoff, VP for Policy with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, handled provincial advocacy. Brad Butt, Director of Government Relations for MBOT, fielded municipal-provincial relationships, and newly elected MPP for Mississauga-Streetsville, Nina Tangri, outlined the policy positions for the PC government. Pearson Airport, which is run by the GTAA and located within the boundaries of Mississauga, is an economic driver for the city. Today we present Part 4 in our series with Siobhan DeRoche from Pearson to discuss the services that Pearson pays for over and above those received by other property tax payers.
There are a number of services that the GTAA delivers for itself that other tax-paying entities in other areas and in the municipality would have provided for them. So it's things like waste collection, snow removal on roads. You mentioned firefighters, police services as well. So GTAA actually covers the cost of those services on airport and around airport lands. So that is something that, we don't get the benefit of those services. However, our tenants, as I mentioned, do pay property taxes, and for that they do get inspections from the Region of Peel for health inspections, things like that. So they do get some services, but the GTAA is spending over $50 million a year delivering these services, which would be delivered otherwise to other entities off airport from the municipality and the region.
In Part 2 of our 5-part series on digital distraction, co-author Bruce Bowser, who is also the president and CEO of AMJ Campbell International, discusses the myth of multitasking and the distraction of electronic interruptions.
I grew up believing that you could multitask, right? And so if you looked at my office, when you and I would have met 5 years ago, I had like 2 21-inch monitors, and I had my iPad set up, and I had my iPhone set up, and I had my calendar open, and my search engine open, and my emails open, and my text open, and it was like, every time I'd hear it ding, I'd be looking, and you can't do that, right? It's one of the beautiful things about the advancement in the medical world is we can actually see brains being scanned while they're functioning. And the brain can't do 2 things at the same time, right? I mean, it can do multiple things in a hurry, but it can't do 2 things. And I tell people it's like this. If you're sitting on a park bench reading a book, and you're well into a novel, and Bruce comes along and stops and says, "Hey, David, how are you?" And we have a little chat for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and I leave, you don't go back to the same line. Sometimes you go back a paragraph, 2 paragraphs, to get back into the story. And the same thing is true in your work life. When you stop to check a text, an email, to to send somebody a note when you're in the middle of a task, you need to come back and get into that task. And the studies show it takes anywhere from minimum 4 minutes, more likely 8 to 12 minutes to get back on task. And you start multiplying that by the number of interruptions in the course of a day. And it's not really 30% of the day, it's like 50 or 60% of the day.
Nominations for the Mississauga Board of Trade Awards of Excellence are now open. This is a great opportunity for you to compliment your customers by nominating them in one of 11 categories. You can also nominate your own company for an award. Go to www.mbotawards.com and make your nomination today. Brad Budd is coming up with his political update right after this short message on how you can save money on your employee benefits.
The Chambers Plan now offers employee benefit programs with greater selection, higher coverage levels, and more value than ever before. Take another look and see why we're the choice of more small businesses than any other plan in Canada. The Chambers Plan. It's for your benefit.
And now for our political update with Director of Government Relations, Brad Budd. Brad?
Well, thanks, David. Premier-elect Doug Ford announced on Friday that his government's first act after being sworn in on June the 29th will be to cancel Ontario's current cap-and-trade scheme and challenge the federal government's authority to impose a carbon tax on the people of Ontario. I made a promise to the people that we would take immediate action to scrap the cap-and-trade carbon tax and bring gas prices down. I want to confirm that as a first step to lowering taxes in Ontario, the carbon tax's days are numbered, Mr. Ford stated. While the Premier-elect also met with Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland and her officials for an update on the NAFTA negotiations and the federal government's consideration of countervail duties and tariffs against the United States given the recent tariffs on steel and aluminum from Canada into the U.S. I want to thank the Minister and the Ambassador for the productive and frank discussion we shared, said Premier-elect Ford. For my part, I reaffirm that Ontario will stand shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners in these negotiations. Because with so many jobs at stake, we must stand united. Ontario will not sit on the sidelines, the Premier-elect concluded. While the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board is reminding workers that claims under the new chronic mental stress category dating back to April 2014 are due July 1st. Employers should be mindful of these changes and prepare for possible claims made through this new provision. The Region of Peel Council adopted a new bylaw under the Retail Business Holidays Act last week, essentially maintaining the status quo as it relates to the mandatory business closings on statutory holidays. Some tinkering with the tourism exemptions were included in the new bylaw, which will allow for an expansion of these areas while grandfathering existing exemptions like Square One and our business improvement areas going forward. Our CEO, David Wojcik, addressed Council and stated the MBOT position on this issue.
Our concern is that businesses here in the Region of Peel will lose money because of an exodus to other jurisdictions to do their shopping.
The City of Mississauga has released its preliminary budget forecast for 2019, projecting a blended property tax increase for the commercial and industrial sectors of 1.9%, plus a planned 2% increase in the stormwater levy. 2019 will be the first full year that the City of Mississauga will collect the new municipal accommodation tax, which is expected to raise close to $10 million. A new health and safety certification requirement has been imposed by the City of Mississauga for construction contractors. The COR is a health and safety audit tool for the construction industry. In Ontario, the Infrastructure Health and Safety Association grants COR as a due diligence tool. This is to ensure contractors meet the requirements of the Occupational Health and Safety Act with formal processes, practices, and training, thereby reducing health and safety risks. The Greater Toronto Airports Authority has approved a pilot project for Uber and Lyft to operate from Toronto Pearson Airport. Airport officials say they receive an average of 100,000 ride-sharing requests each month and are now one of more than 200 airports on the continent, including several in Canada, that allow the service. The Manpower Group recently released a survey of Mississauga employers showing that 13% of employers plan to hire for the upcoming quarter, July to September, while none anticipate cutbacks, according to the survey data. As well, 83% of employers plan to maintain their current staffing levels, while the remaining 4% are unsure about their hiring intentions. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Brad. And here's what's coming up at your Mississauga Board of Trade. On June 20th, our annual MBOT 9 Dine and Network Golf Classic at the Royal Woodbine Golf Club. The prizes are building. You could win a 55-inch big screen TV courtesy of IPEX Inc. or 2 tickets to fly with Turkish Airlines. On June 25th, MBOT presents a webinar on 5 tips to help your banker say yes. This pre-recorded webinar is free to MBOT members and hosted by Sharon Connolly, Vice President of BDC. On July 4th, Membership Matters is at MBOT, a session for new members to discover all the great benefits that your Mississauga Board of Trade has to offer. Seasoned members are always welcome to stop by for a refresher. Details about these stories and events are available at www.mbot.com. Until next week, this is David Wojcik wishing you continued success in your business.